Welcome on in. This is the RotoWire Fantasy Football Podcast, the Week 18 preview. This podcast presented by our friends over at DraftKings. I'm your host, John McKechnie. That is Mario Puig. Got a lot to get to here on this show. Most leagues have already determined their champion after Week 17, but still fantasy intrigue abound for this coming weekend. And, of course, plenty of playoff implications across the league. Starting things off for us on Saturday afternoon. Got an important one down in Tampa Bay with the Buccaneers checking in as 3-point favorites against the Panthers. The Bucs need to win this game and get a little bit of help as well in order to punch their ticket to the playoffs. So this is the second time that these two have faced off in just like, I think, like a 3-week span. So a quick turnaround for these teams rematching here. What are your expectations for this one?
Well, Baker Mayfield being less than 100%, I think is the only explanation for how the Buccaneers have struggled lately. Even as these receivers got healthy, the offense kind of stayed bad. Even Bucky Irving coming back, offense stayed bad. And I don't think that would have happened with a healthy Baker Mayfield. Similarly, I can't know how healthy he is for this game or not. So I really don't know how to call it. If it were healthy Baker, I'd say, yeah, Buccaneers, no problem. But it's pretty crazy that they're in this position with how easy that division was. And I think a Baker Mayfield shoulder injury is pretty much the only explanation for how they ended up in this situation.
It is reminiscent of, I guess it would have been Baker's last year in Cleveland, where he was battling a non-throwing shoulder injury for a lot of that season, and kind of inspired Cleveland to send him packing and make the Deshaun Watson trade and all that. So a little bit of a historical parallel there, but yeah, I think that does kind of explain why this second half of the season in particular has gone pretty awry for this Buccaneers team. That I felt like after September, it's like these guys might really be onto something, but it's really kind of unraveled a bit. But they still have a chance to salvage things, of course. On Saturday on the Panthers side of the ledger, which Bryce Young do you think we can expect here in this setup?
I know that Todd Bowles had a lot of trouble with his secondary at various points this year, but they did have a lot of injuries. Jamel Dean, Zion McCollum, Benjamin Morrison earlier this year, especially. So I understand that they've had some low, including recent low points, but I'm assuming the Tampa Bay defense does what it should, which is it should keep Bryce Young from truly threatening them. Like even if you give up 80 yards to Tara McMillan, you shouldn't give up 150 to Bryce Young. You just shouldn't. So I know something's a little off with that defense too. It's like they've had a rough season also, but I think for this game, the Buccaneers, it's almost cruel. It's like the Buccaneers should be able to take care of this game pretty easily, and they still might not make the playoffs unless the Saints of all teams beat the Falcons. So it's kind of bittersweet at best for them unless they have a little good luck, which they haven't all year.
Right, exactly. And then one more note on the Panthers. I think all 8 of their wins have come when they were underdogs this year, which does track because they haven't won as favorites since like 2021 or something crazy.
See, I would have figured that was one of those categorical things, like because they're underdogs every week. Clearly they won 8 times as underdogs.
yeah, good, well said. So long way of saying that this is the spot that the Panthers like to be in. They like to play their best when they are underdogs, and then when they're favorites, of course, you fade them with vigor. Let's move on over to the nightcap on Saturday. This one in the NFC West, number 1 seed in the NFC on the line. In this one, we've got Seahawks, 49ers in San Francisco. Seahawks slight road favorites. These teams haven't played since all the way back in week 1.
Yeah, I guess you could say the 49ers had to get through more things to get to this position, and the Seahawks weren't supposed to be in this position at all. The 49ers were. They just had a lot of injuries and close calls that would have made it easy for them to veer off this course. So it's more impressive, I think, that the 49ers are in this position, because I just don't think the Seahawks could have withstood a similar assortment of injuries and been particularly good afterward. Whereas the 49ers have already lost so much, and they're showing a way to kind of just stay in games. And that's something attributable to, sure, Brock Purdy, but I think by now it's safer yet to say Kyle Shanahan is not just the kind of coach who can juice offensive stats. That was the kind of coach he used to be. Now he's the kind of coach who can juice the offensive stats, yes, but also he's got an all-around really strong grip on this team. I think I think Shanahan also keeps a close eye on the defense, and the things. Sorry, Shanahan's strengths now are more varied, I think, than they used to be, and it makes it easier for me to take the leap of faith in a playoff-like game like this one, where if I have to reason that one of these teams overachieves to beat the other, then it's much easier for me to do that with the 49ers, even if I think the Seahawks are some ways or some other way the better team of the two. It's like Shanahan's now in that category where it's like I don't really want to go against the guy in a situation with a lot on the line. So just thinking about it that, not that the Seahawks can't also be that kind of team, not that McDonald can't be that kind of coach himself. It's just I don't think he's proven anything like that yet, and I'm leaning the 49ers just because I don't know. It seems to me that the Seahawks, while their model has worked really well, it's more about kind of hiding and providing structure for Sam Darnold than it is letting Sam Darnold win games for them. Whereas Purdy, I think, has shown a little bit more ability to kind of like carry the team, even if you can't do it all year. For a game or a drive, that kind of thing, I believe Purdy can do more for the offense. So this is not to say the Seahawks can't win. I don't want to pick a side in this one, basically. If there's pressure on the quarterbacks, I think that quickly makes the game more dangerous for the Seahawks.
I think so too. I'm wondering, because I think a lot of people are drawing the parallel to Sam Darnold in this same exact spot last year while he was with the Vikings. Number one seed on the line in the NFC, and the Lions just got after him, all evening, and he kind of folded. The Lions ended up locking up the number one seed, and then the Rams kind of like copied that game plan from the Lions and just blitzed Darnold into oblivion in that playoff game. So I'm just wondering if the 49ers have like the horses to do that on the defensive side, just based on the sheer
Probably
volume
not.
of injuries, right? So
yeah, I will say they get Renardo Green back this week at corner. He was out last week. I think Darrell Luter must have been the replacement. So the 49ers defense should be better this week than last week. I realize they've been quite bad lately, but that should make things a little tougher. I just think, I know I was just sort of arguing like Purdy versus Darnold is sort of a reason to maybe favor the 49ers, but Clint Kubiak, in my opinion, there's a strong chance that he's a better offensive play caller, offensive schemer, whatever you want to call it, than even Kevin O'Connell. So more specifically yet, Kubiak, I think, truly gets the big picture, whereas I think Kevin O'Connell only gets quarterbacks. I think Clint Kubiak has done a better job of giving enduring shelter to Sam Darnold. Like their insistence on going, at least one true inline tight end every play. Cooper Kupp playing like a H-back himself nowadays. They commit to a big personnel grouping. Basically, the kind of structure you build to make the running game go. They commit to that kind of thing more than Kevin O'Connell does. I don't think Kevin O'Connell truly gets the running game part of the picture. Like I think you can see the way like they kind of didn't use their backfield particularly well last year, and then this year, in my opinion, the whole obsession with specialization between Jones and Jordan Mason kind of showed like you don't get it. You gotta present a sum of threats every play that doesn't get tipped off based on the personnel. So the Seahawks put in Charbonnet over Walker, but you don't know what the play call is on that basis. So I think Kubiak's just a little better than people realize yet, and I expect that to change in a hurry. I don't understand why he isn't easily the top head coaching like hype case right now.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point, drawing the parallels between Kubiak and KOC when it comes to, getting the most out of Sam Darnold in particular. I'm going to lean 49ers here. I think that the offense is just playing at a level right now that's going to get them over the hump in this matchup, and it being at home, I think it is just kind of an added bonus. I'm a little bit surprised that this is lined with the Seahawks being a slight favorite in this one. Again, 1.5 points is the spread there in favor of Seattle. Before we get on over to Sunday, folks, we got a message from our friends over at DraftKings.
The NFL postseason is almost here, and playoff best ball on DraftKings is back. It's your home for playoff best ball, and this year it's bigger than ever because our partners at DraftKings are featuring a massive $3 million prize pool and a $1 million top prize in DraftKings' largest contest to date. Are you new to playoff best ball? Well, it's the easiest way to get involved in the playoff action without the weekly grind. Just draft once, and that's it. Each round, your top scores automatically count. That means no roster moves, no weekly management. Just build your squad and let it ride all postseason long. All you have to do is download the DraftKings Daily Fantasy app and draft your playoff best ball lineup for a shot at the $1 million top prize. Drafts stay open until the postseason kicks off, so now's the time to jump in. You draft it, we crown it. So sign up now using the link in the episode description below to take your shot at $1 million in DraftKings' biggest playoff best ball contest ever. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY at 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-78-97-777 or visit ccpg.org. 18 plus in most eligible states, but age varies by jurisdiction. Eligibility restrictions apply. Void where prohibited. See terms at DraftKings.com. Sponsored by DraftKings.
And look at that. We are back. Breaking down week 18. Shout out to DraftKings. I've been getting in on that playoff best ball product. Did a live stream of a couple of them earlier this week. Nick Whalen and I have a kind of a strategy primer up on the RotoWire YouTube page as well. So before you dive in, make sure you check that out for all your playoff best ball interests. Kind of just a quick hitter. It'll get you everything that you need to know strategy-wise with your roster builds, roster construction, that type of thing. All right, we are on to Sunday's action. We've got the Falcons and the Saints. And tweet of the week, in my opinion, from Greg Rosenthal. The 49-year Falcons-Saints rivalry has all been leading to the moment Sunday when they decide an NFC South title that neither team can win. I think that sums it up perfectly here as we get into the final run here. The Falcons have been kind of red hot ever since getting eliminated from postseason contention. Obviously, their game against the Rams kind of opened some eyes on Monday night. And then, on the Saints side, they've frankly been playing better than expected here. And I think a big reason for that is Tyler Shuck. So I feel like I ask you every week about your thoughts on Tyler Shuck, but another strong outing from him. Where are you with him, and, kind of how would you feel if you're the Saints going into next year, knowing that Shuck's your guy?
I'm still not convinced that Shuck is particularly good, but John, we are not joking when we say quarterbacks don't matter. So
that's right.
I'm not as likely to get all bent out of shape about it. If Shuck is something less than a franchise quarterback, to me, it's like, who cares? Just get some idiot back there. We got to run the ball. We got to carry that loser anyway. So what does it matter who it is? But Tyler Shuck is better probably than most of the upcoming. This next quarterback class has to be pretty bad. Mendoza. Yes. Maybe Mendoza turns out to be more or less worth it. I don't know, but we already mentioned, like, when people are trying to hype Ty Simpson as like a top 10 pick, it's like, oh my God, we are down so bad if Ty Simpson is pushing for the top 10. And don't worry, he's not. That was crazy talk, but it just shows how crazy people are about quarterbacks. Like, it's an actual hysteria, and some people you just cannot get to think clearly about it. But if these guys are the alternatives, the non-Mendoza ones anyway, then who cares? Like, I don't think Shuck was a good prospect, but these other ones aren't better than Shuck was. It's like, we don't have to just take with the first 5 picks in every single NFL draft the descending order of the quarterbacks based on like the grade of Lance Zierlein or whatever. Like, we could start picking the best players available, and for the Saints, it's highly unlikely to be a quarterback.
Yeah, I think that they're kind of entering this offseason with the luxury of not having to worry about spending a selection on a quarterback. Not that they've spent a high draft pick recently at that position, but they don't have to play the Spencer Rattler and what if with Tyler Shuck game anymore. They can just focus on getting that roster. Kind of what I feel like is a needed youth infusion. Will be interesting to see how they handle running back. What's going to be up with Kamara at the end of this year, everything like that. Obviously, there's going to be no Chris Olave available for the Saints. Unfortunately, kind of a scary medical situation with him involving I think a blood clot in his lung or something. So, wishing him the best here. But enough preamble. What are your expectations for this matchup here with the Falcons checking in as a 3-point home favorite?
The Falcons have taken up that thing that Dallas was previously more so known for, where it's like whatever you expect of the Falcons, they will tend to burn you for. Like,
yeah.
If they're playing a team like the Rams, who are supposed to be better, they might win the game. There's some other recent Falcons game that maybe I'm thinking of the Buccaneers, but I think
they beat the Bills earlier this year too.
Yeah, it's like stuff like that. It's like, why are you like this? Clearly, you have enough talent to be better than this. Why do you choose to do the things that put you in a position to lose like 35-0 to the Panthers or whatever that other game was? Like,
exactly.
This range of outcomes should not be possible. So I don't have any doubt at all that the Falcons are the better team here. Like, that's not even close in my opinion. But in terms of talent, I should say, like in terms of coaching, I think Kellen Moore might actually be pretty good, and whatever else. I definitely don't believe in Zach Robinson or Raheem Morris. So
nope.
I assume the Falcons are going to win, just because to me it seems hard to screw up what they have as far as like good offensive line, elite run game, and some version of a pass rush as they're going against a rookie quarterback who is his wide receiver one is going to be like Dante Pettis or something.
Oof.
2025 and in this game. So, okay, Falcon. I'll say, famous last words style. There's no way the Falcons screw this up.
Therein lies, I think, a bit of the existential crisis that I'm hearing down here from my Falcons fan brethren. They're worried. They're worried that this kind of end of season surge is going to influence the front office to just run it back with this coaching staff, and they are very much over this coaching staff in Atlanta. They're ready for a restart on that and start actually getting the most out of a roster that, like you said, is actually pretty talented. Moving on, we got the Browns and the Bengals. Not a whole lot to get to in this one. The Bengals checking in as 7.5-point favorites.
Yeah, if Harold Fannon's out, then that can make Shedeur Sanders look worse yet, because there was a bit of a crutch kind of formed between Fannon and Sanders, but now there's no crutch. Now you have to throw it to Jerry Jeudy. Jerry Jeudy doesn't like you. No. So I don't know. I know the Bengals defense is bad, but I'm not going to get my hopes up for the Browns moving the ball a whole lot in this one. So I guess the Bengals cover, because Sanders is really, really quite bad. I know he's better than Gabriel, but neither of those guys needed to be drafted.
No, they did not. Let's see here. Looks like Burrow is going to start, I think is the expectation. Chase Brown is going to be available as well. I think that informs why the spread is what it is. Again, with the Bengals 7.5 or 8-point favorites, depending on where you look. Moving on over, we've got Indianapolis going down to Houston to finish out their season. The Texans 10-point favorites in this one. No more Phillip Rivers, sadly. It was fun while it lasted. I enjoyed it.
Good bit.
Love old man Rivers. All the respect, and he gets like 5 more years of NFL health insurance because he played 3 games. Pretty good stuff there. So we are going to see Riley Leonard, and I am interested in that. I don't really view him as like a future starter for this team, but this is a bit of an audition for him. Nonetheless, I would say for the Indianapolis plans going forward. So obviously, really tough test for him though, going up against this Texans defense.
Yeah, I think Leonard looks pretty bad as a passer, but in this era of quarterbacks don't matter. I think he has some amount of a shot. He's no Skylar Thompson, in my opinion. So maybe Leonard can turn out to be something serviceable for the Colts. Of course, you need to do a little better than serviceable for a team to make plans for you at quarterback. So
Sure.
I assume this is almost like the Colts are auditioning Leonard to see if they want him to be their backup next year.
Yeah.
But I think he should be able to pass that kind of test. Like Leonard, whatever else might be true about him, he's as tough as anybody. You can definitely run, including with power, including with volume. So there are those things. And I think we can also assume he's probably like a good leader and, very hard worker and everything like that. And I think with those things being the case, he's got a shot, but in this game, maybe not so much. Like it is possible, I guess, that Jonathan Taylor has a pretty good game. And if the downs and distances are favorable with receivers like the Colts have with Tyler Warren there, it could be tough on any defense to have to stop that group. If it's 3rd and 4 as opposed to 3rd and 10, maybe Leonard can work with that. The 3rd and 10, definitely not. And the 3rd and 4 could go wrong also. But like we saw Ashton Genty have a big game against the Texans. I'm sure that sleepwalking had something to do with that. But I just mean to say, I think the Colts could make something of a game of this, or at least they could have a game where Leonard doesn't look completely pitiful. He's going to get hit though. And his toughness will be relevant in this game because whoever that's almost, I think, what the big consideration was for Phillip Rivers. He's like, okay, well, got the health insurance or whatever. That was all a good bit, generally speaking, but I don't know if the bid is worth this. I don't know if the bid is worth going against Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson and Danico Autry. Maybe it's time that we shut the show down.
Yeah,
I think that's kind of went into this, and I assume the Texans cover somehow, just because I think they'll get short fields. Like I assume Leonard's going to throw a couple interceptions. It's not a big deal if he does, but if he does, then the Texans don't even really need to move the ball on offense. They can kind of get that 10-point cover without even trying to do a whole lot.
Yeah, so I think the back door might be open. If the Texans kind of build a lead and kind of start filtering the starters out. We could see Indianapolis, get a score there to get within this number. But, I think the Texans largely will be in control throughout this game. I will say on the Riley Leonard front, I think he's like 5-1 for an anytime touchdown in this game. And with his running ability and athleticism, I definitely don't hate that price. I feel like it's maybe the books are a little bit underestimating Leonard's running ability, but then maybe I'm overestimating the possibility of Indianapolis getting inside the 10-yard line.
It could be, but there are plenty of ways that Leonard can get that rushing touchdown and still have a terrible game. So I kind of like that bet. I assume it doesn't count for passing. I assume you need the rushing one.
Yeah, he needs to run it in or catch it, I guess.
5-1 is fair. Yeah, I mean, that's reasonable. Leonard, he should run at least 10 times in this game, whatever that does for anybody.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking there with that prop in particular. Before we get on over to our next game, we do have a message from our friends over at Dabble. Dabble isn't just another DFS app. It's the ultimate social platform where you can connect with other fantasy sports lovers. Dabble lets you win big. You can win up to 5,000 times your money this football season. Starting with Dabble is easy. New users get $25 free when signing up. No deposit necessary. Check out the link in the episode description below to download Dabble today. We also got a message from our friends over at Playoff Blitz. All right, so check this out. If you're like us and you hate when your fantasy season ends before the real football gets good, you've got to try playoffblitz.com. It's fantasy football built for the NFL playoffs. No draft, no waivers, no sweat. Members just pick a lineup each week from the playoff teams. You can only use each player once. So once you start a player, you lose them. That's where the strategy kicks in. Remember, no need to hold a draft. Just create a league and invite your friends. Starting a league is super easy. It takes less than a minute, and you're all in from wildcard weekend to the Super Bowl. PlayoffBlitz.com is your home for playoff fantasy football. Leagues are just $79, and you can invite as many people as you like. Run an office pool, invite league mates from your regular season leagues, or even your grandma's bingo league. Join today at playoffblitz.com, where fantasy football meets the Super Bowl. Enter promo code ROTOWIRE for a discount on your league today. Onward, finishing out the AFC South, we've got the Titans and the Jags. Two questions for you, mostly, kind of like bigger picture ones, is how much stock are you buying in this Jaguars team? And then once you finish that one, I do want to hear your kind of overall grade on Cam Ward's rookie season. But starting off with the Jaguars and, kind of where they fit in your AFC hierarchy going into the postseason.
Well, excuse me. I think it's a pretty bad year league-wide. Like, the field has never been this weak. So a team like the Jaguars, they aren't in my top three for the AFC. That would probably just be Houston and Denver, I guess, or something. But Jacksonville is definitely a team people need to take seriously in the playoffs. I think they've shown that they have a certain liveliness to them that they haven't in I don't know how many years.
Since 22, probably.
At least David Garrard, maybe Mark Brunell even. So, like, this is a good Jaguars team, but also one that is still rebuilding. I think the flaws that we saw in the first half of the year with the Jaguars, those are basically all still there, with the exception of Trevor Lawrence. I very briefly got close to losing the faith back in week 8 or whatever, but now the faith is back, and it's I told you so time more so. But no, I think Lawrence is in a way he's playing better now, yes, but I don't think he is truly playing better. I think it's more like Lawrence was always kind of on the verge of breaking out, and the Jacoby Myers trade really did make everything fit into place, because there's a balance that lends to a coherency now on offense, and which lends to an identity that they never had before. I still think this identity is a little flimsy, because their identity is basically like, we give it to ETN 20 times and we hope Trevor kind of just like makes it all work from there. And it would be nicer, in my opinion, if they had like a true power running back, so that they could create true balance between ETN taking some of the power carries off his plate, letting him look hopefully a half a step faster on those in-space designs where we really want him to hit those home runs. They're overworking ETN a little bit. It's the same story as every other year, but the difference this time, Liam Cohen, in my opinion, has, even in the low points this year, been more promising than Doug Peterson or certainly Urban Meyer were with the Jaguars. Sure. It's easy to forget, back in like October or whatever, there was a lot of calls like, oh, it looks like it wasn't Doug Peterson. It looks like it wasn't Press Taylor. It looks like Liam Cohen's more of the same. It's still the same stupid Jags, and it's Trevor's fault or whatever else. And I didn't feel that way. I thought it was certainly disappointing how bad of a season Brian Thomas was having at the time, and how hard that fell on Lawrence. But there was a certain sort of it's not just the fight in general. It's the with Cohen, I think could see that they were sort of they were like unsatisfied with how bad the results were, in a way that they were forcing themselves to consider alternatives and new strategies. Whereas with guys like Doug Peterson and Press Taylor, when things go wrong, all they can really think of is just sort of, well, what if we tried to run that play but better next time? Whereas with Cohen, he was sort of saying, well, that didn't work. What are we we got to figure something else out that works. And they kind of had to writhe awkwardly, flail their way to it. But they've reached their best current potential form. Like ETN is not the ideal power back, but whatever. We're going with ETN. We got Myers moving the chains. We got Brian Thomas making the occasional big play, and hopefully Trevor can just kind of make up whatever distance remains by running on his own. And it's not the ideal, but it's working right now. And although it won't work forever, eventually they'll need to build like a more sustainable vision for themselves. I think right now it's working. And if that defense stays good, getting into the playoffs is enough for the Jaguars to be a really dangerous team in the playoffs in a year like this. There's, the teams like the Ravens and the Bills weren't the teams that they were supposed to be. So there's kind of an opportunity for these other teams, these wild card type teams like the Jaguars or the Texans or whatever. And I think having the good defense is key, being able to get short fields, being able to create pressure, create turnovers, that kind of stuff in the playoffs is huge, because it's it's how you get a win without, a Mahomes or a Herbert level quarterback or whatever. It's like, if you want to win that Super Bowl, you have to have the defense sort of make that opposing quarterback the worst quarterback that one time. And maybe, like, we can't get it the other 9 times out of 10, but that one time is all you need in the single elimination playoffs. And so the Jaguars are a very dangerous team. I just probably wouldn't rank them as high as the Texans or the Broncos, just because those two defenses are a level above the Jags. Like, the Jags defense is good overall and it's opportunistic, but the Denver and Houston defenses are just smothering.
Yeah, Houston's defense is. I threw some bets down while I was in Florida over the holidays, and I put one down on Houston to win the AFC. I think I got it like plus 550 or something like that. I just think anything can happen in this particular playoff field, especially on the AFC side of the ledger, and we've seen them, really impress against some of the best teams in the AFC. I mean, they destroyed the Ravens. They beat up on the Bills. So I could see the Texans making a bit of a run, but I think the Jaguars are lively as well. And then circling back on the Cam Ward element for the Titans side of things, if you're a Titans fan, how do you feel about year one with Ward?
It was a bad year because the team is bad, because they hired decision makers who are bad at their jobs, and they hired people who are bad at their jobs. And it all landed very hard on Cam Ward, of course. So that's unfortunate. The season was very bad. The offense was very bad, but I really do think Ward couldn't have done much more with it than he did. The 15 touchdowns to 7 interceptions or whatever. Even if you count the 7 lost fumbles, he had more touchdowns than turnovers, which with that offense, that's far from a given for even like an average quarterback. Would you really feel confident saying that if Jared Goff was the quarterback on that team instead of Cam Ward, that the season would have gone fundamentally differently for Tennessee? I don't think it would have gone much differently at all. Not to say that Goff wouldn't have been better. I suppose he probably would have been, but it would have been some version of better that didn't amount to anything anyway. So who cares? So there's a lot that the Titans need to fix, and not that much time or means to do it, honestly. I mean, this is a crisis that began with the AJ Brown trade and the crisis that John Robinson, that GM, started. The new one, they didn't make it work. Like, I don't think the Ward pick was an error. I probably would have taken Hunter or Carter. Probably would have tried to trade back too. I don't generally want to take a guy like Cam Ward first overall, but he's good enough that if they get that offensive line fixed and they get that defense balanced in the secondary too, the Titans could compete next year as a run-heavy team. But one thing I don't want them to try to do is everything at once. Like also, I wouldn't want them to prioritize receivers over the offensive line this offseason. DK, I think, is clearly the guy in the slot going forward. Amenor, I think, something of a sacrificial X or flanker or something. Like, I don't think he's really like a high target rate guy, but at least 50 grade as a starter, good enough. Gunnar Helm might be an above average tight end if they give him a shot. So I really think they need to just hyper invest in that offensive line so that Cam Ward next year, even if his receivers aren't one bit better, if he has like some level of comfort in like surveying the field, that would be a good starting point. And then you go with the defense next, just because you don't need to take your quarterback out of his shelter if your defense keeps the other team from scoring. If you only need 20 points to win a game, Cam Ward doesn't need to carry you there. Like, you can let your run game and your defense carry you there. But if you're getting into shootouts because your defense is crap, then it's a situation where Ward can't keep up again because he just doesn't have the receiver ammo. So I would definitely try to build the offensive line first, but I also I think Ward has been more promising than not this year.
Yeah, I'm still a believer in his. I just think that, like you kind of led off with, I feel like it was almost an impossible situation for, any rookie would have.
Clown coach, clown GM. It's the incoherency of the vision of the Titans offense under Callahan is remarkable. Like the idea to which that guy had no idea at all. it's pretty rare. I don't understand how we went from Mike Vrabel to this, but yeah, it's like you trade AJ Brown, you let Derrick Henry walk, you fire Mike Vrabel. You should expect a multi-year rebuild. You set yourself back a decade.
Yeah, the Vrabel one, just as he just kind of
Callahan, fail son nepo case who never did anything but carry around Zach Taylor's luggage, and he only knew Zach Taylor because of the whole Nebraska thing of Bill Callahan, Brian's dad, coaching Zach Taylor at Nebraska. Rotten crap. Hate the whole story. Worst story ever.
It's not good, folks. I mean, Nebraska has not meant anything in the college football world since like Eric Crouch. So
it was a Callahan. I think Callahan and Zach Taylor might have been on the team that game where Melvin Gordon had like 290 yards against Nebraska. That's like the most notable thing about Zach Taylor, in my opinion.
he had a really good seat for Melvin Gordon setting the single game rushing record.
That might be wrong. It might have been Taylor Martinez. I can't remember. Anyway,
which was then bested by Samaje Perine, I think, like the next week or something like that. What a time! Yeah. And I think Tommy Armstrong was around back in those times too for Nebraska. That lets us know, I think, that we are ready to move on to the next game. We got Packers Vikings. Packers 8.5-point dogs here. I think that seems to suggest that is it tune time, my friend?
It is tune time, and hell, I don't know. I mean, tune is not worse than JJ McCarthy right now. I don't think it's crazy to suggest the Packers could cover just because McCarthy is still quite bad. But to be fair to McCarthy, he's probably quite a bit better than Brosmer, who, it's a shame. He gave it his best, but that's not going to work. So I'm expecting just kind of an ugly game here, I guess. Like, even if it's the Packers backups, I think a McCarthy offense just has a certain non-negotiable amount of doom over its head. And I don't know, I guess the Vikings probably win if the Packers aren't even trying, / if Tune is out there. JJ McCarthy should be able to win that game. I'm not expecting it to be like when I was on the show today with Joe Bartle, he was like, I think the Vikings might try to make McCarthy look really good so that they can look good going into the offseason. And I just don't think they could. I don't think it's that simple. I don't think the Vikings wanting to do that is anywhere near a sufficient condition for them actually doing it.
Sure.
Yeah. Anyway, ugly game. Don't know where the numbers are going to be. Could be some sacks, some turnovers or something. Who knows?
Yeah. So, I mean, there is very much a reason why the Packers are underdogs like this, and the total sitting at just 36.5 over at Hard Rock. So not expecting a ton of fantasy fireworks in that game. If you're playing, some DFS on Sunday, probably okay to leave that one be, other than maybe using one of those defenses. Next up, we've got the Cowboys and the Giants. Cowboys 3.5-point favorites on the road.
Yeah, I guess Dallas should win. Jackson Dart, though, should be able to move the ball against the Cowboys defense. I think I don't know if that's enough. I don't know if that's enough to kind of call it an even matchup or like an even projection between Dart and Dak Prescott. I suppose this Giants defense is not particularly good, so you worry about bad Dak showing up as the specific reason that the Cowboys screw up a game like this, but the game is inconsequential. The Giants defense is bad. I feel like even the Dak critic should probably say, like, yeah, I'm expecting good Dak. It doesn't matter. It doesn't, it's a meaningless game. Those are the games where he's the best. And it seems safe, I just mean that to say, if Dallas does lose, I doubt it'll be because of Dak going for 210 yards and 2 interceptions. It'll probably just because it was a shootout that the Giants barely won somehow.
Yeah, I mean, you got to like the Giants' offensive projection against this Cowboys defense right now. But I mean, you can say the same thing about the other side. So yeah, we've got a lot of points expected in this one, with the total checking in at 50.5. Let's scoot on over. We've got the Bills and the Jets. The Bills 7.5-point favorites. A little bit of playoff position jockeying on the table for this Bills team. could potentially move up the wild card standings depending on their results and a couple others from around the AFC. But 7.5 is our line here for Bills Jets.
Yeah, that sounds a little low to me. I guess maybe we assume that Vegas assumes that Josh Allen isn't going to throw the ball very much in this one, which you would have had reason to suspect that even without the foot injury, maybe complicating things a little. But this Brady Cook Jets offense, it cannot score points. Like you could play your emergency quarterback. So if Ray is Ray Davis also that, I don't know. Like you could play Ray Davis at quarterback instead of Josh Allen, and the Bills might cover in this game. So
and have more passing yards.
Yeah. Similarly, I don't think James Cook needs to get worked hard. Like if Josh Allen cannot be himself because of the foot injury, I don't think the Bills need James Cook to make up the difference. I'm not convinced that the Bills should be able to win this game using the game plan that the Patriots used against them in that one win game with Mac Jones like 3 or 4 years ago when Mac Jones threw one pass. Like the Bills could run that game plan and still cover here. And I don't think that they need Cook to do that either. It's like Ray Davis, Ty Johnson, they should be able to run on this defense. It shouldn't be any trouble for them to do that. So the Brady Cook implosion factor, I'm stupid at picking spreads, but I don't know how the Bills don't get 8 points lead here.
Yeah, I mean, I think more than anything, we have a really low total, so like the Vegas isn't expecting a lot of offense from the Bills side, but next to none from the Jets side of the ledger with their implied total sitting at 14.5, and I'd probably lean with the under in that particular setup. Let's move on to a more interesting game. We've got the Lions and the Bears. The Bears checking in as 3-point favorites at home in this one.
Yeah, the season has gone poorly for the Lions. It has gone better than expected for the Bears. However, the reasons the Lions disappointed were pretty much entirely due to injuries and other anecdotal things that were just, in my opinion, bad luck, more or less. And not to say that the Bears were just lucky to get to this position where they are, but neither team has the Bears have not proven in the positive that they deserve that they warrant to be considered a favorite here, unless that Lions team is still is so debilitated by their injuries that it makes up the difference basically. And of course the Sam Laporta absence is big, and of course the Detroit offensive line is still beat up, but if they have Amon-Ra St. Brown and both of those running backs and Jameson Williams, then Jared Goff does not have the excuse for playing poorly, but more importantly, it might not matter if he does, because this Bears run defense is not very good. There's plenty of yards after the catch that those two receivers can create, of course, but maybe even more pertinently than that, as far as calling the game, Caleb Williams can project pretty poorly in this game too, especially if there's weather involved. If it's too cold to play comfortably.
I don't know. They're calling him the Iceman now.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think Caleb is looking promising for the long term, and he's sort of playing his cards as well as he can right now, but I still don't think he's very developed as a passer. And while it's good that Caleb Williams is avoiding turnovers and has a really good touchdown to turnover ratio, he still has too many dead drives in there. He still has too many plays that should have been simple completions that are incomplete, and now you're punting. Yeah. So that kind of stuff is not something you can get away with in playoff settings. Like you at the very least need a dominant defense to carry you through your mistakes, and the Bears don't have that. So I think the Lions are going to win this game just because actually the harder it is to throw the ball in this game, the more confident I am in the Lions winning, because as much as DeAndre Swift and Kyle Monangai have been a central reason for the Bears' success this year, they carry the offense successfully when they go against a run defense that's vulnerable to them. As good as Swift and Monangai are, I don't think we'd call them. I don't think we call either of them more than like a 55 grade or whatever in baseball. It's like they're good enough, but we can find better running backs than these guys. You can't find a better running back generally than Jahmyr Gibbs on the other side. And the run defense for the Lions is effortlessly good. The Bears' run defense, maybe they can muster something to stand tall against Gibbs and Montgomery over 30 carries. But that would be a great game for the Bears' run defense, whereas for the Lions, it would be like, yeah, we do this every day. So I think it sets up for the winner of this game is the one who can run better, and I just think that's the Lions.
I think that's a fair summation in this spot, and the way that this game is lined, that even though the Lions are eliminated, you still expect them to give a good
Campbell
effort.
teams will never quit. There is no coach who will quit less and relish the spoiler role more than Dan Campbell.
Correct. So there's a lot to play for on the Bears side of things. If they win, punch their ticket, they would set up a round 3 against the Packers, but a loss, and I imagine an Eagles win would likely put them against, I think, the Rams, which I think they'd probably want to avoid that, probably want to play a banged up Packers team a good bit more in the opening round of the playoffs. Last thing on the Lions here, this season obviously went way short of expectation. I'm not willing to say that the window's closed, though, necessarily. I mean, I feel like you were saying,
windows never close with Campbell.
No, I don't think so either. That I still love the core of this team and its just kind of general ethos. So I think the Lions will be back. They will be heard from again in the 2026 season. I just think that this year, like the injury piling up issue
on the
was
offensive
kind of
line,
their undoing.
especially.
Really bad, and their secondary got pretty decimated as well. They definitely need to fix that secondary.
They need corners who can cover. Like, I love the bit too about how, like, oh, we're just gonna press, we're just gonna jam at the line and try so hard and be so mean to guys that they don't want to run the routes against us. Like, I guess that'll work on the days where you have a ref crew who won't throw the flag on you, but we have enough other ref crews in this league where you grab like those guys. They get wiped out of some games at like halftime just from the ref saying, like, the way you play corner is illegal today. Yeah. And you need to get corners who can actually cover, and you apply that level of aggression. That's how you make a Legion of Boom. It's not by getting Amick Robertson and Rock Ya-Sin and putting them against some team's wide receiver 1. That's just, you should expect to get whooped when you do that, and they have all year.
Yeah, so that therein lies a fixable, I think, issue for the Lions that they'll need to address this offseason. Before we get on over to our next game, a quick message from our friends over at Blue Wire. And look at that, we're back. Broncos, Chargers, Broncos, 12.5-point favorites. The Broncos have been really bad against the spread this year. I think they're like 2-9 as favorites this year, and I want to say like 1-6 when favored by 7 or more points. So they haven't been able to cover big numbers, but the Chargers are really a walking wounded in this spot, as you can tell from the line. They will be putting Justin Herbert on ice this week and getting him ready, hopefully closer to 100% for the playoffs. But that means Trey Lance will be back there for LA.
Yeah, I think the difficulty for the Broncos covering here, aside from the fact that, it's a lot of points, is that both teams are content to go low tempo. I'm sure the Chargers are going to play hard and they're going to put forth a game plan where they're trying to win, but they're not going to use any special tricks. They're putting guys on the field for evaluation purposes or for the purpose of letting another player who's hurt sit the game out. So the Chargers are not trying to do anything in particular, in my opinion, in this game, other than sort of, make sure everybody does their jobs and does a good job on so that when they do the film room afterward, they can say, "Good job, everybody." That's all they're really trying to go for here. Whereas the Broncos have, some amount of business to tend to, but they should be able to. But 13 points is a lot, and so you have two run-heavy teams, kind of listless in their. Like, they don't really have ambitions in this game. They don't have a reason to make it go fast or become urgent at any point. And both teams are run heavy, or especially the Chargers are. So this game could go kind of quickly. The Chargers could pose no threat at any point, and the Broncos could still only win by like 6 or 8 or something.
That's what I'm thinking. Like, it will be beyond a doubt as to who like the better team is out there with the Broncos. Like they should have good control of this game, but like the Chiefs game a couple weeks ago on Christmas, like it's just hard to trust them like covering a number this big. Just zooming out a little bit, obviously the Broncos are going to have better playoff positioning than the Chargers, of course. But who do you expect to be making a deeper playoff run between these two teams?
I don't know, man. It's tougher than ever to answer questions like this, in my opinion, because of the thing about the field being weak. Like outside of the first round bye and the home field advantage consideration, seeding has never meant less than this year. Some of these teams where it's like, well, if they win this game, they get the 4th seed, and if they lose, they get the 5th, and they have to face this team instead. It's like, I don't know. Sounds like the same thing behind both doors to me. The Broncos definitely have the defense, and if Bo Nix plays like he did against the Packers, I guess they could be dangerous to any team. Certainly, they have a number of legitimate wins this year. It's not as if the Broncos have just been handed this record they have. Their defense is absolutely as good as their record, and I really think that in this horizontally oriented field this year, that defense, or a defense like the Texans have, is a unique advantage. Because single elimination one game, it's like you go a little run heavy, you go a little low tempo, you make that game come down to just a couple drives against that tough of a defense like that. Even the best quarterbacks in the league don't want to have to win against that Broncos defense. So the Texans are the same category for me. I just don't know how to rank either team ahead of the other. They're just, with the exception of the Texans' offensive line being bad, they're the same team.
Yeah.
And then I don't want to count out the Jags because they're wily, but it's I don't know. I guess I'll say the Chargers. The Chargers I did not mean to count out with anything. I kind of omitted them, but I didn't mean to. I think the Chargers could beat the Broncos if Justin Herbert's healthy. And in that case, it would probably be because of Bo Nix specifically getting outplayed by Justin Herbert. It'd be something like that. But the reason I worry that the Chargers are maybe a distant 4 in this group is their offensive line cannot get healthy or good.
No,
and that's what's holding them back even more than Justin Herbert's broken hand.
Yeah, yeah. I mean the brutal string of luck with Slater signing that big extension right before the season, and then suffering a season-ending injury like right after that, and then Joe Alt, of course, having his season end early. That's too much to overcome for pretty much any team. It's a testament to the Chargers that they were still able to make it to the playoffs. I think they can win a game in the playoffs, but I don't expect them to be playing in the AFC Championship.
They're overachieving too. The Chargers are. It's like the Chargers are better right now than most other coaching staffs would have them. That defense is a top 6 to 8 defense without any better than like 20th best talent. So like that kind of stuff it's impressive when the coaches do it, but when you get to the playoffs, it kind of marks you as the first team to go, because the other teams in the playoffs generally overachieve to some extent, and they're further along in their rebuilds. Like that Chargers defense under Minter can get a lot better yet.
Yeah, no, it absolutely could. So that there is that element, and then maybe this is a hot take. I don't know, but I could see the Broncos being one and done in the playoffs.
I kind of hope so. I'm sick of the crap. I'm sick of Sean Payton getting credit for what Vance Joseph does. Like Vance Joseph is the head coach of that team, and he deserves all the credit for everything they've done this year.
I tend to agree that defense is awesome. The offense puzzling, and for fantasy purposes, super frustrating.
How nice would it be if the Broncos had Audric Estime right now for some playoff football? Oh, we have Jaleel McLaughlin. Whoops, that made sense.
Yeah, really good stuff there. Let's move on over. We've got the Rams and the Cardinals. Rams 7.5 point favorites in this one. I've enjoyed the Cardinals a lot. I've enjoyed the Jacoby Brissett experience, but the results are mounting against
Jeremy Lin has been captured. We got him.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's tough, but yeah, I feel like it's run out. I think they lost like 8 straight games, something like that. So the the Rams look like they're pretty much locked into the 6th seed. If they win and the 49ers lose, maybe there's a chance they can scoot up to the 5th seed, and that's an important one because you would get to play the winner of the NFC South, which is I think what any of these.
That's the 1 seed. That's the first seed in the NFC. Whoever gets to play the Panthers.
Yeah, I mean, between the Seahawks and the 49ers game, it's really not that bad if you lose that game and you end up getting the 5th seed. Like you get kind of like an automatic playoff win to get started. At least we think. But again, going back to the Rams here, looking at kind of their playoff ceiling. We were kind of, maybe not we, but I felt like football media generally was maybe not. I didn't think that they were hasty to crown the Rams the best team in football. I think that was true at the time, but obviously a little bit of stumbles here down the stretch for this Rams team. Are you still buying stock in them making a deep run?
They're still, a central suspect in this whole thing. It's just, again, with no hierarchy, there's a very horizontal distribution of like competitive opportunity here. So you're right. When the Rams were sort of first in the league, it would have, at the time, it would have been hasty to say, oh, they're the best team, because we were saying at the time, it's a weak field. Being first right now doesn't mean as much in other years in general, let alone whatever specifics there might be about the Rams and why they might lose ground in the upcoming weeks. Just being first right now means less than ever. So therefore, there's less reason than ever to go anointing anybody over the current rankings. So just the same, losing their perch, the perch that they were at the peak, and sort of slipping to where they are now, that also means next to nothing. It really would be preferable. Like, if you can't get a first round bye, you'd rather play the Panthers than anybody else in the first round. But it shouldn't be a huge deal either way for the Rams, in my opinion, as long as Stafford is healthy, because the quarterbacks don't matter thing is generally true, but Stafford is one of the quarterbacks who do matter, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And while I still suspect there's some kind of underhandedness, some low trickery involved with the Rams secondary and their coverages and stuff. Like, I don't know. And the run defense, I guess, for that matter, although that got exposed against Bijan Robinson. The Rams have sort of a fake run defense and pass defense both. But they've gotten pretty good results with their tricks. So if those results persist here, and if Stafford can be a top 5 quarterback, which he is, in my opinion, that makes the Rams a dangerous team against anybody any week. It's just, I don't have nearly as much faith in the Rams defense as I do some other defenses, probably including in the NFC, probably including a team like the Eagles, for instance. But Stafford and the Rams in general are unique. McVay is unique, of course. And among the teams with halfway respectable defenses, I think the Rams can shoot out better than any team in the NFC and probably maybe even the league. I don't know.
Yeah, I want to see Devontae Adams healthy for the playoffs. I think we're trending.
Kevin Dotson too. Like, they need to get Kevin Dotson back at right guard. That's important.
True, but I'm still buying stock in this Rams team, and I think they'll take care of business on Sunday against this Cardinals team. Moving on. Oh my, we've got Raiders Chiefs. This is unbelievable. Chiefs are 5.5-point favorites here.
Yeah, whatever. I guess somebody's got to play in that one. I don't know who. Don't really want to think about it. No. But I guess whatever. Maybe Travis Kelce can have an ironic, huge game and do a retirement meme about it or whatever. I don't know. The Raiders going with Kenny Pickett. That tells you all you need to know about what they're trying to do. So I guess the Chiefs win because the Raiders refuse to let the Chiefs lose. That's something.
Yeah, they want that draft position. Obviously, they shut down Max Crosby and everything like that. So this game solely for draft position more than anything else. I can't imagine that that's going to get a whole lot of screen time, even on NFL Red Zone on Sunday. Moving on over, we got Dolphins, Patriots. Patriots 10.5-point favorites in this one. The Dolphins coming off a spicy little win over the Buccaneers. What do you think of Quinn Ewers so far?
Good for Ewers. I mean, he had a good game last week, but it was a game where they were trying to hide him, and his numbers were pretty ambiguous, in my opinion. It's to this point looking like Ewers is just a backup, maybe one with some amount of promise. I'm not sure. I hate to keep going back to this, keep bashing this one guy in particular, but Quinn Ewers is no Skylar Thompson. It's not that kind of situation. He's probably not Brock Purdy exactly either, but worse quarterbacks than Ewers get picked in, this day 2 of the draft, probably day 1 of some drafts every year. And the fact that he fell so far in the 7th round, just as it wasn't in Purdy's case a reason to close the door on him, the 7th round thing is not a reason to close the door on Ewers either. But a game like last week, 14 of 22, that's a JJ McCarthy game. It's like when the Vikings have a good day and they successfully hide JJ McCarthy, that's the kind of box score it looks like. If Ewers can show that he can carry a passing game to the tune of 30 plus pass attempts and still have numbers as clean as last week, then I would have said, oh, that's legitimately impressive. That's something I didn't necessarily know he could do. So we haven't learned anything. We haven't seen Ewers do anything that we didn't already have reason to think he could do, in my opinion.
Okay.
And I'm not going to hold it against him if he goes to Foxborough and really struggles. I think this is a pretty difficult setup for him.
Yeah, I do as well. And the Patriots definitely want to keep their foot on the gas with the potential of the 1 seed. They're going to need some help, of course, to get that done. But as it stands, it's still important for them to at least hold serve and keep the number 2 spot. Next up, we've got Eagles Commanders. Eagles 3.5-point favorites.
Yeah, I think that the Eagles defense has shown, as it did last week, that if you can't beat them in the ground game and if you can't isolate Adoree Jackson in coverage against your best receiver, you can really just run into a wall over and over. Like, there's just not that many places to go. If you have to beat Kenyon Mitchell on the boundary or Cooper DeJean in the slot, it's a tough situation for the offense on that play in question. So the Eagles, I don't know what got worse about Jalen Hurts in the passing game. I guess maybe Lane Johnson's absence, a couple other injuries, Juergens missing a couple games, whatever. Maybe that kind of stuff explains the difference between last year's Eagles offense and this year's. But it seems more like they got adjusted to. Like there was finally the code was cracked this offseason, and most defenses figured out how to tame Jalen Hurts and keep him from getting the ball to A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith to the extent that they used to. But as long as that defense is like that, the field is weak. The Eagles might have the best defense in the NFC. I guess it's them or the Seahawks. So they are a totally decent bet, in my opinion, to make it to the Super Bowl. And I guess they could even win it, like that they're a worse team, but they could win still. So yeah, it's such a weird thing though, to see a team so competitively successful as the Eagles have been this year, but also looking so miserable the whole time.
I know, right?
I don't really remember anything like it, but maybe this can go down as an interesting case study on just like how much a team can hate each other and still be good or whatever.
I think so as well. I mean, they've been, they've just been on so many nationally televised standalone games, and it's just like I don't like what I'm seeing here. Like it's not a fun watch. But the defense is good enough to where it's like they are absolutely going to have a chance against anyone that they match up with in the postseason. Let's round it out. Big game for your boy here. Ravens, Steelers. Ravens 3.5-point favorites. It looks like Lamar Jackson going to be back in business for the Ravens after a full week of practice. And I think some breaking news while we were recording this from Ian Rappaport. It looks like TJ Watt is going to be available. And yes, he also just confirmed that Lamar Jackson is good to go for this coming weekend.
It's obviously a dangerous spot for the Ravens, and Lamar has had some of his worst games against the Steelers, but I don't think there's a magical quality to the Steelers that makes Lamar play worse against them. It's easy for me to look at things this way because I tend to frame a lot of football things in more of a baseball way than most football purists do. But whereas most people will look at Lamar Jackson's 4 games against the Steelers that were bad and say, well, it looks like he sucks against the Steelers forever. I'm more inclined to entertain the possibility that this might just be kind of random. This might be 4 bad games followed by 4 good ones for all we know. And if that were the case, we would feel stupid after the first 4 having declared that he sucks against this defense. That there's things can change quickly with how small football sample sizes are. Peyton Manning couldn't win in the playoffs until he was the best quarterback ever. So there's the tendency, the temptation to sort of set into these stone narratives, I think, is worth resisting, and particularly when DK Metcalf is suspended. And this, to be clear, the Steelers offense without DK Metcalf is hilarious. There has not been an offense so comically self-restricting to accommodate such a this player than Aaron Rodgers, who is not valuable. You get nothing for your accommodating him. He doesn't raise the team in any way. And yet they're doing these things like having Kenneth Gainwell just be the wide receiver 2 while Marquez Valdes-Scantling and Adam Thielen get, choppered in to replace Roman Wilson and Calvin Austin at the request of Rodgers. Like, the Steelers team is stupid. This is a ridiculous team. Their offense has no reason scoring points against anybody. The Ravens are still cursed. I think Harbaugh is clearly out. I think Monken clearly is out. But the Steelers team still sucks. I mean, I'm sorry. They are garbage. So I'll take the Ravens to win, even if it's ugly as hell.
Do you think that, on that Monken front in particular, I think there's an interesting dynamic set up here with this Ravens offense where it took Lamar Jackson being out for Monken to remember that he has Derrick Henry. But do you think that they replicate a similar type of game plan in this spot where they lean heavily on Derrick Henry, again, with Lamar Jackson coming off that back contusion? And I mean, the Steelers, their run defense gave up a zillion yards in the first game against these two teams, and also had like a franchise record set against them for rushing yards when the Bills came to town earlier this year as well. So that, I mean, they got to just pound Derrick Henry, I feel like.
Yeah, absolutely. They should. And if they do, I think they win. I think it's that simple. But we've seen Monken do this multiple times over. Even last year, they did it a couple times. Like, it was week 1 against the Chiefs, wasn't it? Where they somehow Derrick Henry ends up the game with like 9 or 10 carries. It's like, well, what the hell did you expect to happen? Do you have Derrick Henry on your team so that you can go into Sunday thinking, oh, I can't wait to give this guy 10 carries. I can't wait to give him 8 and then never run the ball again. Oh, I'm glad we have this guy on our side for 8 carries. Like, that's, you just need to kind of snap yourself out of it sometimes. You need to let go of whatever it is that you're fixating on. I don't know what Monken was all hopped up on to think like, now they'll never expect this. Well, stop running the ball easily for a lot of yardage and start throwing the ball poorly. They won't expect that. And the element of surprise, it's good or something. And you have with Henry both, it's having your cake and eating it too, in that you have the automatic returns of the running game, and you have the explosiveness resembling a passing game, a highly effective downfield pass. Like Derrick Henry, the sum amount of certainty and explosiveness and big play upside he gives you on a given play by just handing him the ball is almost incomparable. There's nothing like it. So I can almost imagine the most like human excuse to me for Monken is something like, yeah, I guess I kind of like took it for granted and got bored with how easy the success was. And I kind of, I allowed myself to get distracted and I sort of wandered off. That's as good of an explanation as you're going to get. Because if you try to argue about it, if you try to say, like, actually, it was smart that we stopped giving him carries because here was the theory we had at the time. Doesn't matter. That theory was crap. You know what theory is the same as the practice, 1-to-1 every time? Just give Derrick Henry the ball. Just give it to him. So if they get Henry to 20 carries, especially with Rodgers giving short field. Like Aaron Rodgers needs to do. He needs to land 2 trick plays to Marquez Valdes-Scantling for at least 80 yards just to kind of project for 14 points in this game, in my opinion.
Yeah, the Steelers offense without DK Metcalf, like you started off,
it's a joke. It is not serious. It is kind of funny, but it's not like a bad joke, but it is a bad offense.
Indeed. So I really, if the Ravens are able to run the ball and mitigate turnovers have obviously been, a big factor in some of their losses, including, I guess against the Steelers. But there have been several instances this year where they get undone by timely or untimely fumbles. So Derrick Henry needs to not fumble. That'd be good.
Lamar too. But if they both don't fumble, I don't know how they screw it up.
I don't either. It's just that this Ravens team is so.
Or if Monken doesn't sabotage us, then I don't. Those two not screwing up, Monken not sabotaging, those 3 conditions met, I don't know how the Steelers could possibly win.
No, I don't either. But crazy stuff happens in these rivalry games, and obviously this is super high stakes. But objectively, I think you look at these two teams and where they are right now. I think you'd have to say that the Ravens should be favored in this spot by, we're seeing 3.5 here with an over under sitting at 41 and a half, depending on where you're looking. Well, that's going to do it for us here on the Week 18 edition of the RotoWire Fantasy Football Podcast. If you're wondering to yourself, well, the season's over. What happens next? Don't worry. We are going to keep our podcast rotation going all the way through the Super Bowl. And Mario and I mean, we podcast year round. You can't keep us off the microphones. Go on.
If somebody wants a reason to keep listening into the off season, I have to kind of hype this a little bit because it'll never be this fortuitous in the future. Going into the draft, the pre-draft running back rankings, I had Genty. I had the first 5 running backs drafted in order. So like everybody else had everybody other than like John and me had RJ Harvey projected to go in the 5th round or whatever, but we had it as 1 Genty, 2 Hampton, 3 Judkins, 4 Henderson, 5 Harvey. And that was the exact order they went. And I don't think anyone else got that.
Yeah. So we get stuff.
Judkins' hate was popular back then, and that was before he was accused of punching a woman in the face.
That's right. So yeah, people were saying that he was slow, and then he burned it up at the combine, and obviously everyone.
Caleb Johnson, John. That's why you should listen to us in the office. We were saying no. We are. Yeah, not, we will not play ball on that one.
Yeah, whoever gets anointed as like draft Twitter's favorite guy, we usually are able to apply the smell test and see if it's worthwhile or not, because Caleb Johnson, it got so loud that he was getting drafted in the 7th round of
people were saying he should go they were saying like running back too. They were saying there's some people saying like he might even be like as good as Genty. Like the hype, people were comparing him to Adrian Peterson. It was wild, man.
So listen to us, because we will steer you in the right direction. We won't lead you astray. Mario's also got some best ball content up on the site for the playoffs. I'm going to throw my hat in the ring on that as well. Next week, once the playoff field is officially set, again, we've got some more playoff best ball content up on our YouTube page as well, mostly focusing on what the contests are over at DraftKings. Those are a lot of fun. Definitely recommend getting in on the action. Great way to just keep your fantasy season rolling all the way through the playoffs. But that's gonna do it for us here. Again, if you haven't subscribed to RotoWire, make sure you do that. Go ahead. You can get 15% off any subscription right now. You go to rotowire.com, use that code YouTube15. They'll get you set up with 15% off any subscription. Big thanks to our sponsors over at DraftKings, over at Dabble, and over at Playoff Blitz. For Mario Puig, I'm John McKechnie. Thanks for listening.